Good morning and welcome to prayer and worship at the Love Center on behalf of Pastor Byron L. Broussard. Please keep your mask on at all times. Please remain in your seating area and silence your cell phone. Please maintain social distancing. We ask that you leave the church immediately after worship concludes.
Communicating with the Love Center is now easier than ever.
Please text the words pray, love, or donate to 404-594-5717. Text the word pray to send your prayer requests. Text the word love for information on salvation. Or text the word donate to support our ministry.
Everything that you give helps make what we do in ministry possible. For e-giving, text the word donate to 404-594-5717.
After you text the word donate, you'll receive a text message with a link. Click the link. This will take you to an online form that you can complete, including your amount and billing information. Once you have completed the form, click the Submit button at the bottom. After submitting your donation, you'll receive a text message that confirms what you have given.
Thank you again for helping us take this love to the whole world.
9th, 1906. The location, 214 Bonnie Bray Street. On the third day of a 10-day fast, William Seymour began to preach to the prayer group from Acts chapter 2, verse 4. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. Afterwards, Mr. Edward Lee asked Seymour to lay hands on him, as they did in the Scriptures, and pray that he would receive the Holy Ghost. When they finished, Lee lifted his hands and began speaking in tongues. This experience sent shockwaves through the room. Other believers in the room were knocked to the ground by the power of the Spirit, and 6 of them began to speak in tongues as well. Their shouts of joy could be heard throughout the neighborhood as the prayer meeting overflowed to the front porch. Many curious neighbors gathered, and soon others began speaking in tongues and praising God. The word spread rapidly. By the next morning, the crowd had grown so great that it was difficult to approach the house. The porch became a pulpit as William Seymour began to preach to the crowd. This continued for 3 days and nights. Services continued almost day and night, with healings reported and hundreds of people filled with the Spirit. After the third day, it was determined that a new location was needed to house the growing crowd of seekers. William Seymour and his followers soon found a vacated 2-story church building. Its address was 312 Azusa Street. The revival at Azusa stretched from the early morning deep into the evening every day for 3.5 years. William Seymour would preach, and soon, following a sermon, the altars were flooded with seekers. No urging was necessary. By the end of the first month, you could find 800 people gathered within the building, and over 500 gathered outside, and it only continued to grow.
But we could not control the Spirit of God. Sometimes a person would receive the Holy Ghost right in an audience without even an altar call. Just stand right up and begin speaking in other tongues as the Spirit gave utterance. I maintain you don't have to come to a specific place called an altar. You give up in your heart, and the Lord will save you then, there, wherever you are.
People heard them speak in their own language. The Japanese, Chinese, and all the different nationalities, they heard them speak, and the gospel was preached to them.
You mean they had not learned these languages?
Oh, no, they had not learned, because the Spirit of God filled them.
Thousands of people visited the mission services over the course of 3 years, whether they were drawn by a spiritual hunger or a fascination for the bizarre. Whatever the case, those who came were impacted. Many who came with unkind motives left full of the Holy Ghost and a desire to spread the message of Pentecost. Hundreds of people were baptized with the Holy Ghost. Then hundreds turned into thousands, and thousands turned into millions. History records the Azusa Street Revival as the greatest revival to ever sweep across North America. More than any other time in Earth's history, we need the Spirit to fall again on us. Now is the time. Today is the day. We need a fresh outpouring of God's Spirit on our nation like never before.
The preaching of the gospel brings the heart and mind of God to the people who need to know and understand His will. God takes the yielded vessels and uses them to point us to the paths of hope and change for the better. In times like these, we need to hear a voice that will speak truth to power and love to the lost. Let's be blessed together now with Pastor Byron L. Broussard.